Hello everyone, my name is Mark and welcome back to Golden Final Spin. I did a survey on my Facebook group. I asked people what they want to see in my next video. Was it going to be, I thought about showing you all my signed records and what they meant to me, or records that I found was hard to find. Anyhow, what happened was it was pretty well 50-50, but the one that won was not the signed records. People are more interested. They want to see which ones I found hard to find. So some of these records that I'm going to show you, you probably have them in your collection. Now, I've only been collecting records, not really that long compared to some of the older people that have been collecting records since records were coming out. So these records I'm going to show you aren't necessarily really high value records, but they're records that I had a hard time trying to find because they were in someone else's collection and they weren't showing up in record shows and they just weren't parting with them. So it makes it hard for a new record collector like myself, relatively new. I would say I've been collecting probably about 13-14 years now. So I'm going to show you those, and they're really going to surprise you actually. So the first one, a lot of people didn't even realize that it was out there when I was looking for it. When I first started collecting records, I was into Bob Seger. Yes, the greatest hits. Everyone knows that it's out there now because it's repressed. But when I was originally looking for this about 5 years ago, it was on Discogs and it was like $250. And I would go to every record show and I'd be asking them, do you have the greatest hits? Do you have the greatest hits? And they'd be like, it never was put out on record. Not true. It was put out on record. So this was probably the hardest one that I ever had to find. Did I buy the original one? No. I was not paying $200 and some for it. When it finally came out as a greatest hits, a repress, I mean, it's no brainer. I had to get it. I showed this last time, my last video, so I'm not going to go into big details on this. I was looking for this for a very long time. I think this Rolling Stones is actually their box set. This was one that I really wanted for a very, very long time. Goes for a lot of money. And yeah, so this was probably the second one. And of course, this was in my last one too, Garth Brooks. So I'm not going to go into big on this one either. You can't find a lot of Garth Brooks albums out there on the market. This one is going to surprise you guys because it's really not really worth a whole lot. But my wife liked the album, I liked it, and every time I wanted it, it was over in Holland or something. No one sold them at the record shows because they figured it was a common, but I really wanted it. So I was on a hunt for, I think, 3 years for it, and it's Roxette. So not all albums that people want and they're looking for are necessarily, valuable records. But this one I wanted. There's a lot of singles out there and stuff like that, but I had a hard time trying to find an actual album. And this is one of their better ones. I really like this album. And I found it at a record show finally in one of their cheap bins. So that was pretty cool. And I mentioned that when I first started out, I was looking for Bob Seger. So I went to a lot of record stores or record shows, and they had a lot of the common stuff. Like when you mention Bob Seger, and the Silver Bullet Band, it's usually the live concert. But this was another one that I was on the hunt for a long time. A friend of mine actually was selling it, and I sent him a wish list, and he actually had it, so I got this out of him. But I think I was on the hunt for this one for about 4 or 5 years. I've seen them in other record stores, but they were in really rough shape, and I will pass on albums that I want if they're in rough shape. Huge James Taylor fan. Here's two here. I knew that they were out there. I seen them in a local record store, but this one was always in bad shape, and this one I remember a couple times the jacket was in bad shape, but the media was okay. But I finally found them that was in half decent shape, and I really wanted it. This is called Rainy Day Man. really cool. And this was, you know, in the Flying Machine. So this was, I believe this was like, the Flying Machine I think was his very first band or what have you. But I really like early stuff by Bob Seger and James Taylor. My next one here, it took forever to find. When I started collecting years ago, like right from the beginning, like everything was Bob Seger. Everything was Bob Seger. But this album here, a friend of mine had it. I sent him a wish list, and he had it. There's another jacket that this has as well, that I like the other one better, but this was my very first, I gotta say, my very first Jim. I guess that's what everyone calls him, Jim. And I was happy to find that, and well, not find, a buddy of mine had it, so I guess I found it. If you don't ask, you don't know, right? So this one here, Neil Young, big Neil Young fan. This is Greatest Hits. People say that the other one, you know, the other album was better than this, but I always wanted this, and it wasn't hard to find. It was more or less hard to find at a half decent price. So I went a few years trying to wait for the price to go down. I eventually bought it from the United States, thinking that I was paying, I think, $45, $50 Canadian, but not realizing I was actually paying American money. So it ended up being the same price as what it is in Canada. It's a great album. I really like it. I was happy to finally get it, even though you might as well say I just bought it in Canada at Canadian prices. I didn't realize what I was doing until I looked at my credit card statement. This here is a great album by Drink Small, Round 2. It was kind of a hunt looking for it for many years, more or less because I thought it was worth a lot of money, and I really liked his singing, and I made it a challenge to try to find it, right? And on Discogs, someone was selling it for like $300. So I was like, man, why is this album worth $300? I listened to it. It sounds amazing, like any other album that I like, but I'm not paying $300, but I'm putting it on my wish list, and I'm going to go on a hunt and try to find it, and I'm not going to pay that. I eventually found it, and I think I paid like 20 bucks for it. So whether it's worth $300 or the guy on Discogs, I don't know. But it took quite a few years to find this one, and I was happy to find it. Here in Canada, everyone loves Stompin' Tom. Stompin' Tom is amazing. He unfortunately passed away a couple years ago now, but it's hard to find Stompin' Tom in really good condition, and dealers are selling them for quite expensive as well here in Canada. This one here I really liked. I was on the hunt for this one, but I'm also on the hunt for the Canadian hockey song one. But this album's interesting because I was told that this is the only album that Stompin' Tom doesn't wear a cowboy hat, and it was in amazing shape. I think it's still in plastic. No, it's not in plastic, but it's in amazing shape. He's like a Canadian icon, and I was happy to find that after a few years. Next one, Johnny Cash, the fabulous Johnny Cash. I really wanted this for a lot of years, and it was at record stores, but they were always in bad shape, and I would keep passing over it. And this one actually still has the plastic still on it, but it is open, and it plays amazing. I really like it because, like, it's a great cover. You know, sometimes jackets on records look amazing, and you're attracted to them, and you really want it. But it's an amazing album, amazing jacket. I really like it. Another one here, I've had this in the past. This is a double LP, Elvis Presley. I do like Elvis, but I don't have many Elvis Presley albums. This is the one that I really like the best. It's a well-known concert that he did. I had another record identical to this, but it was in rough shape, and you know, I was on the hunt for quite a while until I found another one, and then I found another one, and there we go. This artist is kind of hard to find, and every time I say his name, they shoot me over to Fleetwood Mac. Yeah, you know who I'm talking about, right? Peter Green. Peter Green. Now, of course, I like Peter Green, a part of Fleetwood Mac, but not everything Peter Green does is Fleetwood Mac. Okay, he had a solo career after that, and he still has stuff coming out. This was one of the albums I really wanted, and it's one of my favorite albums that he put out, and it's called In the Skies. And I was on the hunt for a long time. Every record show I go to, there's only a few Peter Green albums, and they usually go right away. So if you're not at the record show early enough, they're gone. Like, I showed up in Moncton, asked every dealer, and they always say, oh, Fleetwood Mac, Fleetwood Mac. No, I want Peter Green solo stuff. So this one here, it was a couple years before I actually finally found a nice copy. This is kind of a new band. Well, not new. This album's been out for a while. AWOL Nation. A friend of mine was playing it on his MP3 player when I was at work one time, and there was a song there, Sail, it's called, and I said, well, geez, man, I want this on record, and I started looking for it, and at the time I wasn't buying online, so I kept going to record stores, and it was never being brought in, and eventually the record store owner said that he can order it in for me. After months of me looking and figuring he's going to get it in, but sometimes record stores don't know what's popular at the current time because they're stuck in the old days. That's where the market sometimes is, in that geographical area. He ordered it in, and it was warped, and then so the hunt continued. I took it back, and he ordered me another one. So this one was actually probably about an 8th month search until I finally got a good copy of it. Fleetwood Mac. Okay, this is Black Magic Woman. This is a different version, I guess. I wanted something that, a record that actually said, you know, Black Magic Woman. This isn't I don't think this is original, but I just, for my Fleetwood Mac collection, I wanted something. I found this online. So this isn't really a hunt one. You know, it was just a quick thing found online. I think it came from Holland. Yeah, this is pressed in Holland. Okay, another Peter Green. This was an amazing find. I was really happy to find this. It was on my wish list, like, because when I go to record shows, I have a wish list, and I have photos of the records, and I try to memorize each album, what they look like, and this showed up, and this is the end of the game. This was really cool. It was on my wish list for, I think, 4 years, and then it finally showed up. Okay, I got 3 more here to show you. Big, you know, Rolling Stones fan. This was very hard to find. I actually had to order it from the United States, and I was looking for, I don't know, 5 years now for this. This is Voodoo Lounge, and just so happened was talking to someone online. He was down in Texas, I think. I can't remember now, but he said he had it. So, and he never shipped before, so I was a little bit worried. I'm like, this transaction's not going to work out, but it did, and it worked out perfect. And I finally got the original pressing of Voodoo Lounge. 2 other Rolling Stones ones that are hard to find. This one was Flashpoint. I forget where I got this, but it was on my wish list for a very long time. That finally got that. And the other Rolling Stones is this one here. So, you know, the problem with Rolling Stones and their later things into the 90s and early 2000s, well, I say early 90s, it was hard to find them. They were mainly put out on CD, not so much on record, and they kind of got lost in the hustle and bustle of the new CD industry. So it made it hard, and you end up paying quite a bit. So these ones here I did pay quite a bit. Voodoo Lounge I paid quite a bit for. I think I paid like $100 for that. This one here, I forget how much I paid for, but you pay quite a bit if you're looking for. So those ones there were hunting online for them because I knew they weren't going to be showing up in record shows, or definitely not yard sales. There you go, folks. Those are some of the ones that I was looking for, and they're now in my collection. I have another wish list, and I'm still on the hunt, always on the hunt. So I want to know what you guys are on a hunt for. Do you have a wish list? What's on your wish list? What is the best record that you ever found that you thought you never would find, but you finally found it? So share in the comments below. Make a video response. Show me some of your records that you never thought you would ever find, but you actually did, and how did you find them? Till next time, thank you for watching Golden Final Spin. Remember, keep spinning.